The day you retire is one of the most significant transitions you will ever experience in your entire life. But here's what nobody tells you about that moment. The first few weeks after you leave your job are actually the most vulnerable and most important window of your entire retirement journey. What you do in those early days, quietly, privately, before the world even knows you have retired, will determine whether your retirement becomes the life you always dreamed of, or a slow, painful, financial, and emotional decline. And most people completely waste that window. They throw a party, they post on social media, they tell the neighbors, they start making plans, and they skip the 10 critical upgrades that should have happened first. That is exactly what we are going to fix today. I'm going to walk you through the 10 things you absolutely must upgrade the moment you retire before you breathe a word of it to anyone. Stay with me through this entire list because number 7 genuinely surprises most people, and number 10 is the one that separates the retirees who thrive from the ones who quietly struggle in ways they never talk about. Let us start with why the secrecy matters. When you announce your retirement before you have your foundation set, you become a target, not necessarily from bad people, but from well-meaning friends, family members, financial salespeople, neighbors with business ideas, and your own emotional impulses. Everyone suddenly has an opinion about what you should do with your time and your money. Decisions get made under social pressure instead of clarity. So think of this window as your personal preparation phase, a quiet, powerful reset where you rebuild your life from the ground up before the noise of everyone else's expectations starts pouring in. Now let us get into the list, and upgrade number 1 is your health coverage situation. This is the most urgent upgrade of everything on this list, and it has a hard deadline that most people do not realize exists. When you leave your employer, your health insurance does not just quietly fade out, it stops. And depending on your age, what happens next is critical. If you are under 65, you are not yet eligible for Medicare, which means you have a limited window, typically around 60 days, to arrange new coverage before you face gaps or penalties. People lose sleep over this one because the consequences of getting it wrong are enormous. A single unexpected hospital stay without coverage can wipe out years of retirement savings. So the very first thing you do after retiring, before the party, before the announcements, before anything else, is get your health coverage locked in. Compare marketplace plans, look into Cobra as a temporary bridge, research what Medicare looks like if you are approaching 65, and understand exactly what your spouse or partner's plan covers if that is an option. Do not assume. Get specific. Get covered. Upgrade number 2 is your emergency fund strategy. During your working years, an emergency fund was essentially a buffer between you and needing to touch your retirement accounts. In retirement, the entire dynamic shifts. Now, your savings are your income source, and the way you store and access your emergency money needs to reflect that. Most financial advisors suggest keeping somewhere between 1 and 2 years of living expenses in a highly accessible, lower risk account during retirement. The reason is something called sequence of returns risk, which is the very real danger of having to sell investments at a loss during a market downturn just to cover your monthly bills. Upgrading your emergency cushion before you announce your retirement means you are entering this new chapter with a real financial buffer, not just the assumption that your portfolio will always cooperate. Quietly move money into a high-yield savings account, review your liquid assets, and make sure you have a clear number you can live on for 12 to 24 months without touching long-term investments. Upgrade number 3 is your income plan. And I want to be really clear about what this means because a lot of people confuse having retirement savings with having a retirement income plan, and those are two completely different things. Having money in a 401k or an IRA means you have accumulated wealth. Having an income plan means you know exactly where your monthly cash flow is coming from, in what order you will draw from different accounts, when you will start Social Security, and why, and how all of it works together to minimize taxes while maximizing how long your money lasts. This is the upgrade that most people skip because it feels complicated, and they figure they will sort it out as they go. That approach is one of the leading reasons retirees run into trouble in their late 70s and 80s. Quietly map out your income sources before you tell a soul you have retired. Sit down with a fee-only financial advisor if you need to. Understand your withdrawal strategy, your Social Security timing, any pension details, and how required minimum distributions will eventually factor in. Get the full picture on paper before you start living the retirement life. Upgrade number 4 is your estate plan. This one feels uncomfortable to think about, but retirement is the single most important time to get your legal and estate documents in order. A surprisingly large number of people reach retirement age with outdated wills, missing beneficiary designations, or no real plan for what happens to their assets. And the irony is that many of these same people worked their entire lives to build wealth, only to leave it in a situation where it could get tied up in probate, go to the wrong people, or trigger unnecessary taxes. Before you tell anyone you have retired, update your will, review your beneficiary designations on every single account and insurance policy, make sure you have a durable power of attorney in place, create or update your healthcare directive, and consider whether a trust makes sense for your situation. This does not have to cost a fortune. Many of these documents can be handled for a few $100s with an estate planning attorney, and the peace of mind is absolutely worth it. Upgrade number 5 is your housing situation. Retirement changes your relationship with your home in ways you probably have not fully thought through yet. During your working years, your home was largely a convenience, a base of operations close to your job. In retirement, it becomes the center of your daily life, which means it needs to work differently. This is the time to ask some hard questions privately before the social pressure of what everyone else thinks starts influencing your decisions. Do you actually want to stay in this house for the next 20 or 30 years? Have you considered downsizing and freeing up equity you could put to work? Does your home need modifications to make it safer and more comfortable as you age? Things like grab bars in the bathroom, better lighting, single-level living. Are your property taxes going to squeeze your fixed income budget over time? Is there a place you have always wanted to live that you kept putting off? These questions are best answered in quiet reflection before you are fielding everyone else's opinions. A housing decision made under family pressure or social expectation is often the wrong decision. Get clear on what you actually want first. Upgrade number 6 is your digital and financial security setup. Retirees are disproportionately targeted by financial fraud. This is not a comfortable fact, but it is a documented reality. Scammers specifically target people in their first year of retirement because they know that is often when assets are being moved, accounts are being opened, and people are navigating unfamiliar financial decisions. Before you announce your retirement anywhere, strengthen your digital defenses. Set up two-factor authentication on every financial account. Review who has access to your accounts and remove anyone who should not. Consider a credit freeze. If you're not actively taking on new credit, get a secure password manager and update your most important passwords. Be extremely cautious about any unsolicited calls, emails, or messages about your retirement accounts or Medicare. And make sure your family knows about the most common scams targeting retirees so they can help you stay alert. This upgrade takes a few hours and could potentially protect you from losing everything you spent your career building. Upgrade number 7 is your daily structure and identity. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds like a soft, feel-good item compared to the financial stuff. But I promise you, this is one of the most important upgrades on this entire list, and it is the one that blindsides people the most. Here's what researchers and retirement counselors observe over and over again. The retirees who struggle the most, emotionally, mentally, and even physically, are often not the ones with the least money. They are the ones who had no identity or structure outside of their work. Work gave them a reason to get up, a social network, a sense of purpose, and a feeling of being needed and valued. When that disappears overnight without a plan to replace it, the results can be genuinely devastating. Depression rates climb significantly in the first 2 years of retirement. Marriages face strain. Health often declines. The upgrade here is to design your daily structure before you leave. Not a vague idea of what you might do, but a real weekly framework. What will your mornings look like? What projects will you pursue? What will keep your mind sharp? What will keep you physically active? What social connections will you deliberately maintain or build? The retirees who thrive tend to be the ones who essentially traded one purposeful life for another. They did not just stop. They redirected. Figure out your new structure privately, quietly, before anyone starts telling you what your retirement should look like. Upgrade number 8 is your insurance portfolio. This one requires a comprehensive review because your insurance needs shift dramatically when you retire. The life insurance policy that made sense while you had dependents and an income to replace may no longer be the right fit. Long-term care insurance, on the other hand, becomes significantly more relevant because the odds of needing some form of assisted living or in-home care increase substantially as you age, and the costs are genuinely shocking if you have never looked at them. Home insurance coverage may need adjustment if you are home more often or if your home's value has changed. Auto insurance may actually go down since you are no longer commuting. And umbrella liability coverage is worth considering if you have accumulated significant assets. Before you announce your retirement, sit down with an independent insurance broker, not someone trying to sell you a specific product, and get a full picture of whether your current coverage makes sense for your new life. Overpaying on policies you no longer need and being unprotected in areas that have become more relevant is a surprisingly common and expensive mistake. Upgrade number 9 is your relationship with your time and your money together. I want to talk about something that rarely comes up in retirement planning conversations, which is the psychological relationship most people have with spending once they stop receiving a paycheck. For decades, you had an income coming in. Spending felt sustainable because it was being replenished. The moment that regular paycheck stops, even if you have significant savings, many people experience what you might call a spending freeze. They become overly frugal, afraid to actually enjoy the money they spent 40 years accumulating because every dollar spent now feels permanent. Others go the opposite direction and overspend in the early years of retirement because of the novelty and excitement of newfound freedom, which can seriously damage long-term financial security. The upgrade here is to get intentional about your relationship with spending before retirement begins. Work with a financial planner to create a realistic budget that actually reflects the life you want to live. Know what you can genuinely afford to spend each year on travel, experiences, hobbies, and family without jeopardizing your long-term security. Give yourself permission to enjoy what you have built, but within a framework that you have thought through carefully. Quiet, private clarity on your real budget before the announcements and celebrations begin will serve you better than almost anything else. Upgrade number 10 is your social architecture. And this is the one I think deserves the most reflection because it is the least obvious and in many ways the most consequential. Here's something that the research on longevity and healthy aging consistently shows. Social connection is one of the strongest predictors of how long you live and how well you live. The size and quality of your social network matters enormously for both mental and physical health in retirement. And work, whether we realize it or not, provided most of us with our primary social structure for decades. Colleagues, meetings, shared goals, lunch breaks, the casual conversations in hallways. All of that disappears the day you retire. For some people, this is a relief. For many, it is a kind of social vacuum that they did not anticipate and do not know how to fill. Before you announce your retirement, think honestly and strategically about your social life. Who are the people you genuinely want more time with? What communities do you want to belong to? Are there clubs, groups, volunteer organizations, faith communities, or interest groups that align with who you are now, not who you were at 25? Do you have friends outside of work, or has your professional network been your entire social world? The retirees who build what some researchers call a social portfolio, a diverse collection of meaningful connections and communities, tend to report dramatically higher life satisfaction than those who rely on one or two relationships to meet all their social needs. Build this architecture quietly and deliberately before the world knows you have retired. Then you will step into your new life with something solid beneath you. Now let us take a step back and look at the bigger picture of what we just covered. Because these 10 upgrades are not just a checklist, they are a philosophy. They represent the idea that retirement is not a destination you simply arrive at. It is a transition you actively design. The people who do this work quietly, in that private window before the celebrations and the announcements and the social pressure, are the ones who get to retire on their own terms, not on the terms of their family's expectations, not on the terms of what some neighbor thinks retirement should look like, and not on the terms of financial salespeople who want access to their savings. There's a reason the word upgrade is in the title of this video, and it is not accidental. We are not talking about maintenance or repairs. We are talking about intentional improvement. You spent your career in one chapter. Now you are writing a completely new one. And the quality of that chapter is largely determined by the preparation work you do in the quiet days, right after you close the previous chapter for the last time. The retirees who struggle are often the ones who expected retirement to simply feel good on its own. They believe that removing the stress of work would automatically create happiness. And for a few weeks, maybe even a few months, it does. But genuine, lasting happiness in retirement is built. It is built through financial clarity, through purposeful structure, through meaningful relationships, through health that you have protected, and through a sense of identity that does not depend on a job title or a company. All 10 of the upgrades we talked about today feed into that foundation, and doing them before you tell anyone gives you the precious gift of doing them without interference, without others' agendas, without the noise of celebration drowning out the clarity you need. So if you are getting close to retirement, or if you are already in that transition window right now, I want to challenge you to take this list seriously. Print it out if you need to. Go through each one methodically, not in a day, but over the course of a few weeks. Give each upgrade the attention it deserves. And when you finally do make that announcement, when you finally tell the people in your life that you have retired, you will be doing so from a position of genuine strength. You will have your health covered. You will have your income mapped out. You will have your legal affairs in order. You will know your housing situation. Your digital security will be solid. Your insurance will be right-sized. You will have a daily structure that gives your days meaning, and you will already be building the social world that will sustain you for years to come. That is not just a retirement. That is a great retirement. If this video gave you something useful to think about, hit that like button, because it genuinely helps this content reach more people who are navigating this same transition. And if you want to go deeper on any of these specific upgrades, especially the income planning and the social architecture pieces, let me know in the comments what you would like me to cover next. There's a lot more to say about each of these topics, and I want to make sure you have everything you need to build the retirement you actually deserve. I will see you in the next one.